Yeah, don't get me wrong. This ain't the trade update that we wanted, nor do I even think it's the trade update that we really need. Hell, this may not even be a trade update. But today, we are diving deep into the trenches, down to the bottom of the barrel to scoop out whatever substance may or may not exist, and trying to formulate some trade talk out of it. So let's talk today about Detroit Red Wings captain Dylan Larkin. Let's talk about Cole Caufield of the Montreal Canadiens, Trevor Zegras of the Philadelphia Flyers, and Filip Forsberg of the Nashville Predators. Because all of these guys were buzzing at the World Cup the other day. As posted on G. Kittle's story. Now, I honestly have no idea who the hell is G. Kittle. George Kittle? San Francisco 49ers tight end? Okay, we've got some cross-sport promotion going on here as Kittle, Forsberg, Caufield, Zegras, and Larkin were all hanging out at the World Cup. Obviously, this doesn't mean anything. Friends can exist within NHL circles even if they transcend team borders. But Dylan Larkin, being in the same vicinity as guys like Cole Caufield and Trevor Zegras, certainly is an interesting set of optics. Caufield and Zegras were a part of the same US NTDP team that was so dominant back in 2018-19. We say this all the time, but perhaps this was the best junior team ever assembled of U19 hockey players heading into an NHL draft. Jack Hughes, Boldy, Caufield, Zegras, Cam York, Matty Beniers was on that team. So was Spencer Knight, and who was the other defenseman? Alex Vlasic, that's who it was. This was a really good NTDP squad. Caufield and Zegras by themselves are amazing, and then you add on Boldy and Hughes. Really great connections, obviously. We know that Caufield and Trevor Zegras have been really close friends, but Dylan Larkin being introduced there too is quite the intriguing piece of info. So, let's speculate. Let's go out there and talk about what this could mean. This was posted onto the Philadelphia Flyers subreddit, and there are some folks that are now discussing whether or not Zegras could bring Dylan Larkin over to Philadelphia. We need new hope now that Leo Carlson is off the board. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really think that Carlson was ever gonna be a Flyer, but at the end of the day, you do need to fill in that hole somehow, right? You make an offer sheet, he signs it, you have maybe even 1% of an expectation that it goes unclaimed or unmatched, but either way, let's dive into the comments here. The top reply says, I'm not against Dylan Larkin coming, but it can't be for a ransom from Detroit. Like, Rasmus Ristolainen in a first is the most I would do. Well, I'll say this right here. If it's Ristolainen and a first-round pick for Dylan Larkin, there's no way in hell Steve Yzerman was going to accept that. But here's the thing. Steve Yzerman is no longer the GM of the Detroit Red Wings. This guy was asking for Matt Boldy. He was asking for Wyatt Johnston from Minnesota and from Dallas in Larkin trade talks over there. Anything close to Ristolainen in the first is an absolute automatic no, if Yzerman was still in charge. Another reply says, hey, they were there with someone from CAA. I'm pretty sure they're all with the same agency, which is how I imagine they ended up getting the tickets. Another reply says, I want absolutely nothing to do with Larkin. How about Zegras to the 49ers? And then some other speculation here too. Maybe they're just friends. I mean, does this mean we're getting Cole Caufield too? LMAO. Now, obviously, this doesn't really mean anything, and in fact, the presence of Filip Forsberg amongst this group is the weirdest thing, in my opinion. I didn't realize that there was a connection there with Filip Forsberg and all these other American dudes. For what it's worth, this post was also put onto the R Hockey subreddit. There's a little bit of a closer look there. You can see Trevor Zegras has that old Vancouver Grizzlies cap on. Look at this, man. absolute believer in the system. The top image reply is so funny. It goes over Cole Caufield and his draft comparable from the NBC NHL Draft program from 2019. It's fitting for the World Cup, too, because you had none other than Lionel Messi as Cole Caufield's draft player comparison. It was Craig Button who actually made the pitch over here saying that, yeah, Caufield, he's small, but he scores. Messi is small, but he scores. And I remember watching this broadcast live as it happened, and I was like, wait a minute, what the hell? Why are they comparing a hockey player to Messi? Makes sense, though, right? I mean, Cole Caufield, he's still 5'8". He grew a little bit from the date of the 2019 NHL Draft, but this obviously is a comparison for the ages. Ah, yes, my two favorite hockey players. Caufield in attendance to see his draft comparable. Yeah, everybody's talking about Caufield and Messi. Did someone really compare Caufield to Messi when he got drafted? If so, what was that guy smoking? Yeah, it was Craig Button. It's right there on the video clip. That is such a random group of NHL players. Darth Lord Donkey goes out there and says, I know Kittle and Forsberg are friends through their wives, and the others have the USA Hockey connection, but I'm confused as to how Larkin, Zegras, and Caufield would know Kittle and Forsberg. When in doubt, check to see who their agents are. Zegras, Larkin, and Caufield are with Pat Brisson. Forsberg is with JP Barry. Brisson and Barry are both with CAA. So their agency just got them tickets. Simple as that. And then you also have Forsberg. He probably invited Kittle, the San Francisco 49er, over there. Forsberg also is one of the owners of Nashville's MLS team. He could have reasonably gotten tickets or perks for being an owner. You know, that's cool. I didn't realize that Filip Forsberg was into the whole buying sports teams in the area thing. Great. Larkin can now add Nashville, Philly, and Montreal to his trade list. He's actually only added Spain. Okay, that's funny. That is really funny. You talk about the sting of Argentina losing, of Messi not being able to pull off his magic, and overall having the Spain team just dominate that final game. Maybe Dylan Larkin wants to go there afterwards. Who really knows? Cole Caufield, I mean, if he can do some convincing to try to get Larkin onto his side of the border, maybe that's also a possibility. And then Trevor Zegras is the more extroverted and interesting, peculiar one out there. Who knows if he could open the door to Dylan Larkin being a potential Philadelphia Flyer, although I question whether or not the trade price would be worth it for many Detroit Red Wings fans. I don't know. You can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the linked connection between Dylan Larkin, Cole Caufield, Zegras, Filip Forsberg, these guys hanging out with each other at the World Cup, watching Messi, watching everything go down, Caufield relating to a man whom he was once compared to as a draft eligible in the National Hockey League. Do you think this actually has any implications on the trade talks at all? Do you think Dylan Larkin could be convinced to go over to Philly or Montreal? Let me know in the comments section all your opinions. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.